Hi, I'm the guy who just had his first haircut in 9 months, and today I'm going to talk about YouTube.com, or more specifically about the Adblock crackdown that YouTube is now doing. If you are not familiar with the issue for some reason, a couple of months ago YouTube started to crack down on ad blockers. Basically right now, if you have an ad blocker installed and you go to the website, you have three choices. You can disable the ad block and watch the ads, or you can buy premium and pay YouTube money and not watch the ads. And finally, you can watch 3 videos and then never use YouTube again. Naturally, nobody liked that, and YouTube doubled down. Together with Google, who owns YouTube, they are now slowing down other browsers. Google Chrome is marking ad blockers as potentially dangerous or something, and it doesn't look like they are going to give up. This whole situation was very frustrating for a lot of people, and it's generated a lot of discussions ranging from very reasonable critiques of YouTube to understandable rants and just venting frustration, to some pretty unhinged takes that I just had to talk about in this video. So today we are going to discuss all of that. First, I'm going to give you my honest and totally unbiased assessment of what's going on. Then we are going to look at some discussions that happened on the unofficial YouTube subreddit, and then the video will pretty much end. I'm probably going to make up some kind of ending for it, but in any case, let's jump right in. First, my honest opinion. I think YouTube should not have done that. And the reason why I think that is because if we look at the data right here, YouTube has been profitable since circa 2010. And the profits have been steadily rising up until 2020, where they kind of just jumped up. And since then, they stayed on a stable high level. But YouTube wanted more profits, so they decided to crack down on ad blockers, which is kind of understandable from their point of view, because up to that point, YouTube has been stuck in this kind of endless cycle where YouTube tries to raise profits by pushing more ads on users. Some users become frustrated and install ad blockers, so YouTube earns less money because these people no longer see the ads. So in order to keep the profits up, YouTube has to push even more ads, and that forces more people to install ad blockers. And this cycle continues and obviously doesn't have a good ending for anyone. Either everyone installs ad blockers at some point and YouTube gets no money from ads at all, or the user experience for people who did not install ad blockers is so miserable that they just pack up and leave. So they try to break this cycle and get rid of all ad blockers. Not only on YouTube, but also on Google as well, since Google Chrome is now cracking down on ad blockers extensions in general. And it's by far the most popular browser out there. Maybe it will spur like exodus from Google Chrome to Opera or Firefox or something else. Maybe not. Maybe people will just give up and continue using Google Chrome and continue seeing all of these ads. And you may say, well, YouTube is a private company. They are entitled to earn money for the service they provide. And it costs a lot of money to run YouTube, to maintain the servers, to patch up bugs, to do moderation and stuff like that. And that is true. However, as I told you earlier, YouTube is not actually losing money, nor is it anywhere close to be unprofitable. They didn't have to crack down on ad blockers or raise the premium prices at the same time, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. Like, if they wanted to nudge people from using ad blockers to giving them money, they could at least make the YouTube Premium more attractive by maybe decreasing the price, or, I don't know, at least not increasing it, right? But probably they decided, well, if we increase the price, then people will assume that it is a very good service, because the more it costs, the more valuable it is. And that is not true. But you can still say that YouTube is entitled to earn money, and if you don't like it, just leave. And that is a great point. The only problem is YouTube holds a near monopoly on medium and long video content. There is simply nowhere else to go. I mean, if I wanted to watch some videos, what are my options? TikTok? Well, the longest possible video on TikTok is 10 minutes, and if I want to make an hour-long rant, or if I want to watch an hour-long rant, I would not be able to do that on TikTok. If I were to move to TikTok, I would have to actually learn to express my thoughts in a clear and concise manner and not go on rambling about unrelated things during my videos in order to fit them all in 10 minutes. So there is no way I'm going to do that. Here's the problem with the monopolies. Usually, under capitalism, both the business owners and the clients have sort of leverage over each other. The business owner can set any price or any conditions on using their services, and the clients can choose whether or not to actually use the services. But if the business is a monopoly, then the clients have basically no choice but to comply with any prices and conditions that the business owner forces on them. And yes, YouTube videos are not necessities. It's not like food or water or housing, but it's still a thing a lot of people want. And the business owners have a responsibility to be at least a little bit nice to their clients, because YouTube is like the second or third most used website in the world. So any decision that they make impacts a lot of people. And if they just do not think about the people at all, if they only think about their own profit when they make business decisions, then it falls on us, on the clients and the general public, to push back, because otherwise the service will just continue to get worse and more expensive, and it won't be good for anyone. So this is my opinion. Let's now go and look at what other people think. This post pretty much sums up a lot of arguments that people make regarding YouTube and why they think YouTube is not in the right here. First point is the ridiculous amount of ads, and I agree, the number of ads people have been seeing has been steadily increasing over the years. That degrades user experience, and I would understand if YouTube was unprofitable, like Twitter or Uber up to a couple of years back, and they had to raise prices in order to stay afloat. But that's not the case. YouTube has been profitable. They didn't have to push more ads, but they did because they wanted more money. One other problem with ads is that YouTube does a pretty bad job at moderating them. People have been seeing a lot of pretty illegal stuff, like escort services or gambling or even straight up scams. For example, this post here, there is just a scammy ad impersonating Mr. Beast, the biggest creator on this platform. And YouTube just kind of, yeah, you can do that, you can advertise that, as long as you give us a little bit of money, we will show it to people. That is bad. I mean, if YouTube wants us to spend more time watching ads, at the very least, the ads should be vetted in order to be, legal. The second point is YouTube does a bad job at moderating itself. It has a very opaque and arbitrary system of punishment for creators. It is very swift in demonetizing people for saying mild profanities and, of course, using like 1 second long clips with copyrighted music or videos. But it doesn't punish popular creators that actually do bad things. The most recent example is Sniper Wolf, who doxes people. Again, if you need more money to raise your standards, you could have just dug into your profits and, raise your standards and then ask for more money, because now the clients get a better service. It's a pretty dick move to do the other way, and actually they do not even promise to deliver better service in the future, because they just say that we'll continue to deliver great service. And you know what, YouTube? Your service right now is not that great. Now, at this point, the amount of data they sell, I actually have no opinion on that, because I didn't research it thoroughly enough to have an opinion. But I know it's been a big scandal like a few years back when people realized how much data big platforms like Google or Facebook sell. So yeah, I might make a video about that in the future, but for now I'll just say probably. It's probably a thing. And the last point in the post is the algorithm is pretty bad actually, and I would agree. My recommendations page mostly consists of the videos I already watched, maybe multiple times, or just videos of the same creators that I already am subscribed to, or just random stuff that I am not interested in at all. Again, if you improved your algorithm significantly, if you made it almost magical like TikTok did, then I would have been at least fine with you raising prices, because now you provide better service. You can ask for more money for that better service, but you do not do that. There is also this opinion about ads, which is basically ads do not exist to sell you the product they are advertising. They exist to annoy you into buying premium. And this is a very interesting topic. I think I'm going to make a video about that particular thing because it makes such intuitive sense. Like, anecdotally, I almost never buy anything from online ads. I don't think I've ever bought anything that was advertised to me on YouTube. Or even if I did, I didn't do it because of the ad. I probably knew about this product already, and that is true for a lot of people. How often do you click on the ad and buy a thing that is advertised? Probably not even 1 in 1,000 times, right? Also, Danny Gonzalez made a couple of videos where he tried to advertise stuff online. And based on this data, advertisements are not efficient at all. Because in the first video, he advertised his own channel. He spent like 30K on it, and it netted him like 50 subscribers, which is a pretty bad deal. And in the second case, he advertised his fake AI apps. I don't know if he did it on YouTube or just on Google, but the thing is, he advertised it online using Google ad services. He spent several $1,000s, and it only brought him like half a dozen users, or at least half a dozen interactions with users, which seems like an extremely poor conversion rate. And bear in mind, these things that Danny advertised are free. It's free to subscribe and watch him. It was free to download these fake AI apps. So imagine how hard it is to actually make people buy something with real money using advertisement. But I do not have any hard evidence for or against this theory, so I will look into that later. Also, speaking about ads, why are there ads before first aid videos? This makes no sense. Like, why would YouTube not just flag first aid videos or any kind of important videos that people need to watch and not show ads before them? That would not hurt YouTube's bottom line at all, because these videos are not any significant proportion of YouTube videos. It would be a very nice move that would actually make people like YouTube. But they just do not do that, and you can enjoy your unskippable ad while your friend is talking. That would definitely make you buy whatever product is advertised, for sure. So we have heard a lot of good arguments against YouTube making these financial moves. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Well, this guy has one possible solution. He was a premium subscriber, and obviously the ad blocker's block did not affect him, but he decided that this is ethically questionable and he no longer wants to support YouTube, so he just cancelled his subscription, and now YouTube lost a customer. This is a great move, and I deeply respect this person. However, not all people who dislike YouTube are like him. Let's move on to the more questionable opinions that people have on this topic. For the last couple of months, almost every single post on the YouTube subreddit has been some variation, more or less eloquent, of this. YouTube sucks. YouTube bad. YouTube really, really messed up this time. And I hate it, and it is very, very bad. Of course, I can sympathize with that opinion, but the subreddit has been just drowning in these posts. And incidentally, a month or so ago was the time I discovered this subreddit, because I decided to become a YouTuber, and I thought, well, I use Reddit a lot, why not search for YouTube subreddit? Maybe people post some helpful advice for beginning YouTubers there, maybe there are some interesting discussions. And no, it's mostly just rants about how bad YouTube is because it removed ad blockers. So you might ask me, don't you agree with these opinions? Yes, I do. The thing is, you do not have to just spam the subreddit. It's an unofficial subreddit, so these posts have zero effect on YouTube's politics. The only thing YouTube worries about, apparently, is money. So you can push back at YouTube in a few ways. You can do what that guy did and cancel your premium subscription in solidarity. Or you can not allow YouTube to stop you using Adblocker by, installing better ad blockers or using different browsers. And finally, you can review your legal options. You can write to the European Union and ask for their opinion on this whole thing, because YouTube is running a script in your browser that scans all extensions your browser has. And this is pretty intrusive. This can also be dangerous because there can be all kinds of bugs in this script, so your data may leak because of that. So these are reasonable ways to fight back. However, some people just do not understand that. There are a couple of posts in the lines of, I used YouTube for 10 years, every single day. I watch a ton of videos. I always use Adblocker. I never paid for premium, but now it's all gone. Now I can no longer do that. And this is why YouTube has lost me as their customer. I am not going to tolerate that. I am out. And this is so funny to me because if you are using ad blockers and not paying for premium, you are net negative from the YouTube point of view because they need to spend money on running servers to serve video to you, but you are not bringing them any revenue. So if you're going to boycott YouTube after they blocked your ad blockers, then YouTube can just say good riddance, go away, because you have been a drain on our finances. It would be better if you started watching ads or paying for premium, but if you're just no longer going to use our services, that's the next best thing for us. So if you are going to boycott YouTube while never having been a customer, probably reconsider. Also, there are variations of this meme going around. This is a photoshopped message that people see when YouTube asks them to disable Adblock. And the joke here is, actually, YouTube wants money from you. So what can I say about it? No way. I mean, of course YouTube wants your money. What did you expect? What is the joke even? It's a private enterprise which wants to become even more profitable than it is. Of course it asks you for money. It's not some clever observation. Okay, so we are finally arriving at the posts which I consider not so great. First of them is this one, and this is a gem. There is nothing that anyone can say or do to convince me to pay for YouTube or allow ads, and that's final. I pay $75 per month for my home internet. I pay another $75 per month for my phone plan. That's enough money. I'm not going to pay that much money and then have my time wasted to be told to pay more money when I try to use it. Freak advertising, freak subscriptions, and freak YouTube. And if this keeps spreading, freak the whole internet too. So I understand the general frustration here. Internet in the US especially costs way too much money, and also everything on the internet now is a subscription. All of that adds up pretty quickly. But what kind of argument is this person trying to make here? Yes, internet providers ask for way too much money in the United States because of the situation where any particular area has only one or two providers and there is no competition. So they can set any prices that they want, and they obviously want to set very high prices. Monopolies or cartels are pretty bad. But not a cent of the money that you pay to your internet service provider actually goes to YouTube creators or Netflix or Spotify. This is such a bizarre argument to make. Imagine making it in any other situation, like, what do you mean I have to pay for gas? I already paid for my car. Or, what do you mean I have to pay for my groceries? I already paid for my car, and I already paid for gas, which I apparently have to do. And now you're saying when I arrive at the supermarket, I have to pay for the stuff here as well? Well, freak that. I am not going to do that. And that is final. This is so ridiculous. And finally, there is also this post. I have never seen an ad in YouTube, and I will continue to use Adblock my entire life. I have never seen an ad, I've been using my entire life Adblock, and I block every single ad in every single internet platform. So far, understandable. No one likes ads. I don't pay to creators, and I don't support anyone on Patreon. I have never spent a penny on internet media. I watch everything for free, and I'm not ashamed of it. You can whine all you want, but this is my way of life, to make it clear that living like this is possible, and nobody can stop me from living this way. As long as there is freedom, I will embrace it. And then he just goes on to brag about how tech-savvy he is and how he can just do all that because he can. Well, he's not ashamed of it, but I think he probably should be, a little bit. Because this position is not some kind of anti-capitalist moral ideology. It's just pure cheapness, it's just greed. Like, I can consume everything for free, so I just do. Why would I pay for anything? Why would I support creators that I like if I can just not do that and get all this content for free? I think this is a pretty asshole position to be holding. Because blocking ads is one thing, it doesn't hurt anyone, it only damages the bottom line of big corporations a little bit. But to be proud of not supporting any creators on any platform is so mean. I'm pretty sure if this guy was rich, if he owned a business, he would just provide shitty services, he would treat his clients and employees poorly, and he would use any possible loophole to avoid taxes. Because he can, because it's possible to do so. Why not earn as much money as possible if you can underpay your employees, you can overcharge your clients, and you can avoid all of these taxes? I don't understand why people upvote this, because this is exactly the mentality that YouTube owners have. The only difference is they have power over their business and all of their clients, and this person is just a guy. But from the moral point of view, they're equivalent. And you may say, well, you're being too harsh on this guy, come on, he's just a cheap dude, it's no big deal. And yes, that is true, but he did give me his explicit written permission to roast him. Right here, you can whine all you want, so that's what I'm doing, I am whining all I want. And this guy sucks. Right, let's wrap this up. What did we learn today? Greed is bad, actually, and you don't have to be rich in order to be a greedy, self-centered asshole. But rich, greedy, self-centered assholes hold a disproportionate amount of power over the rest of the society. And I think it is a morally correct position to push back against them, especially if they control a monopoly, because we cannot even leave them for some competition if there is no competition. So I think we should fight back against this Adblock crackdown, and you don't even have to be like anti-capitalist to do that, because the whole point of capitalism is to use greed as fuel to make economy dynamic and ultimately provide the best possible service to the people. But as you can see, in this case, the approach is not working. The service degrades and asks for more money without promising any improvements, and if I understand pro-capitalism arguments correctly, is not the way it's supposed to be. So that is my opinion. What do you think? You can tell me in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, maybe watch some other videos of mine. You can even subscribe a little bit, I wouldn't mind. If you do that, then I will see you next time. Bye bye.